If you like a cake that is spiced perfectly and moist and full of flavor, then this hummingbird cake is for you. Now, this is a cake that I love to make for special occasions because it's not quite like a carrot cake, but it gives me the reminder of a carrot cake just with no carrots. It uses mashed bananas as well as some pecans and some spices like cinnamon and allspice that make it the perfect springtime, winter. Actually, it's perfect all year round. So let's go ahead and get started. Basically, get out all of our ingredients. So get out your eggs and your butter and your cream cheese, whatever your ingredients say, and we are going to let that come to room temperature. And then I'm also going to basically put all my ingredients, measure out everything, and put them in little containers so that I make sure that I am not missing an ingredient or a step. The first thing we want to do is preheat our oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Now that I've preheated my oven, the next step that I'm going to do is prepare my baking sheets. That's just so I don't forget to do it later because I usually do that. So sometimes you can use parchment paper liners. I just spray cooking spray in these and it works fine. Even though I'm getting all my ingredients prepped, the one thing that I make sure that I weigh is my flour. Now, if you're going to use cups, my advice would be to fluff your flour first and then spoon it into the cup size that you're using. Take a leveler and level the top of it. I find that flour, when you do this method, the weight of the flour can change so much. And so if you don't want to weigh all the ingredients, at least weigh this. Still want to measure your liquids in a measuring cup, a liquid measuring cup. And now I'm going to mash my bananas for my cake. This calls for 2 cups of bananas, and this is going to depend on the size of your bananas, what equals 2 cups. You want to make sure your bananas are not overly ripe. They don't have to be that ripe, but starting to get ripe at least. The next thing you're going to do is take your chopped pecans and put them on a baking sheet, and we're going to bake these in that preheated oven until they're slightly toasted. It should take about 5 to 7 minutes. Make sure you don't toast it too long because you don't want it to be burnt. You'll just start to smell like a little bit of a nutty flavor. That's good for me. Set it aside and let it cool. So next we're gonna get a medium-sized bowl that has our all-purpose flour, and we're going to add our other dry ingredients, which will be our salts, our baking soda, our cinnamon, and allspice. And you wanna take a whisk and just whisk that together. You'll set that bowl aside and you'll get an even larger bowl because this is what you're gonna mix your remaining ingredients in. In this bowl, you're gonna mix your wet ingredients. So you're gonna start with your eggs. Break in the eggs. And you'll want to give these a whisk before you add your other wet ingredients. And then I'm gonna add the light and brown sugar to this as well, just to mix those in. And I also pour in my vegetable oil and the vanilla extract. The next thing I'm gonna do is sift my dry ingredients into the wet ingredients and then fold it in. Sifting it is just gonna allow that flour mixture to incorporate a little bit easier. Oopsie. I like to slowly whisk it in. And you'll notice that the batter will get thick when you're adding all this flour. Don't worry, we're gonna add more liquid to it. I just wanna make sure I incorporate all the flour in there. And just try not to overmix it. Just mix it till the flour is gone. You like bread though. Now I'm gonna add an 8-ounce can of crushed pineapple, as well as our mashed banana. And 1 cup of the toasted pecans. Add those pecans as well. And just give all that a stir. And notice that batter is loosening up, but it's also staying very moist. This smells delicious. And then you'll want to take that cake batter and put it in those prepared pans. Remember, we greased them earlier, so we don't have to forget about it. I like to use a big spoon to spoon in my cake batter. That helps me make sure that they're even. Now we're gonna bake our cakes in the oven for about 25 to 30 minutes until they are golden. They separate a little bit from the sides, and if you put a toothpick in the middle of it, it comes out clean. Alrighty, and you'll notice all 3 of my cakes fit on that middle rack in my oven. I'm not gonna bother rotating them, they'll be fine. Now that my cake is baking away, I could be cleaning my kitchen, but instead, let's do a quiz. Who can tell me where the hummingbird cake originated? Leave your answer in the comments, and I'll give you some time to answer. Time's up. It was Jamaica. Yay! Now, I find this one interesting because I never really grew up eating hummingbird cake, but when I heard about the history of hummingbird cake, I was super thrilled. So this was a cake that originated in Jamaica, and it's named after Jamaica's national bird, which is called the Dr. Bird. And back then it was published in the Jamaican Gleaner, and then they sent the recipe to, I believe it was Southern Living, and they published it as well. And then over the years, so many people in the South have created or recreated or done their own versions of hummingbird cake. Wow, really good history. Okay, let's get back to the video. And it looks like my cakes are finished, nice and golden. So I'm adding my cakes to these wire racks to let them cool in the pan for about 10 minutes. And then I'm gonna release them from the pan and let them cool until they're completely cool. Then we're gonna add our cream cheese, our butter, and some powdered sugar and vanilla to a bowl to make our frosting. If you don't have one of these, I'm pretty sure you could use like a wooden spoon. You just want to make sure that this kind of gets nice and fluffy. At this point, I like to add the vanilla extract and a little bit of milk to make it extra liquid in my cream cheese frosting. And then you're going to add some powdered sugar a little bit at a time to not only sweeten it, but also kind of thicken it back up. Just a little bit of cream, a little bit of powdered sugar, just a little bit of powdered sugar. Now that I've got everything together, it is time to compose my cake. So I'm gonna start with my first layer on the bottom. Just here. So my last layer, I like to flip it to make the top flat rather than trying to slice it. And then I'm going to frost that as well. Take the remaining pecans and top your cake. I'm gonna just put mine on the outside. And there you have it, a delicious hummingbird cake. Now it's time for the taste test. I cut a really big piece for myself. I'll split this. Look how moist that is. Perfection. Mmm. This is good. It's like a banana cake, but it's got the nice crunch of the pecans in it. And it's really spiced like perfectly. All right, before I continue eating, I'm gonna sign off, and until the next time, bye. Come on, baby. I'm gonna go outside. Finish this cake. It's really good. Oh, I should stop.